students, welcome to the science class. We are discussing chapter friction. In this chapter you have studied what is friction, what are the causes of friction and the factors on which friction depends. You also have studied different types of friction like static friction, sliding friction and rolling friction. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of friction. You have seen that there are many advantages of friction. If friction is not in our normal daily life, we will not be able to write on paper and we will not be able to walk on the ground. So friction is very necessary, but sometimes it is harmful for us because it is the wastage of energy. It affects on the working of machines. So there are sometimes it is needed to increase friction and sometimes it is needed to decrease friction. So today we will learn how can we increase friction and how can we decrease friction. Firstly, we will see ways to increase friction. How can we increase friction? First is by increasing the roughness of surfaces. When surface is rough, then friction will be high. You have seen that the soles of shoes are rough and treated tires are used in vehicles. Treated tires means uh, on which tires on which outer surface is grooved so that it can make a better grip on ground and prevent from skidding. Skidding means to slip. So rough surface make a better grip on ground and prevents from skidding. So by increasing the roughness of surfaces, we can increase friction. Next is by drying the surfaces. You have seen that when you walk on wet floor, you will slip on it because there is less friction. So by drying the surfaces, we can increase friction and prevent from slipping down. Using of brake pads in bicycle is another method of increasing friction. You you know that when brake pads of bicycle does not touch the wheels, it will not slows down. So when brake pads of braking system touch the wheels of bicycle, it increases friction and slows down the speed of bicycle. So these are the ways of increasing friction. You also have seen when wrestlers and kabaddi players rub their hands with the soil, it makes better and firm grip from their hand and opponent's body. So it also increases the friction. So these are some methods to increase friction. Let's we see how can we reduce friction. You have seen that there are many disadvantages of friction. Sometimes it damages the machine, it causes of wastage of energy, it is causes of wear and tear. So sometimes it is needed to reduce friction. So there are some ways how can we reduce friction. By polishing the surfaces, we can reduce friction by polishing the surfaces. When a surface is polished, the irregularities of the surface is covered and making it smooth and thus reducing friction. Next is by applying oil or grease on the surfaces, which Oil or grease which we use to reduce friction is also known as lubricants. So by applying oil or greasing on the surface, we can also reduce friction. You have seen that in machine or bicycle, we apply oil or grease to reduce friction. By sprinkling a soft, slippery, fine powder on the surfaces. When you play carom board, you have seen when a striker on carom board does not move smoothly, you will sprinkle talcum powder on it. So it reduces friction. So, so by sprinkling a soft, slippery, fine powder on the surface, we can reduce friction. Next is by streamlining the body of an object. A streamlined body helps to move uh, in air and water smoothly. So, streamlining shape of an object helps to reduce friction, like the shape of aeroplane, boat, fish that move in air and water. Its streamlining shape of that those body is help to move in air and water freely. So streamlined shape of an object also helps to reduce friction. So these are the ways to reduce friction. So you have learnt about friction, causes of friction, factors on which friction depends, types of friction, advantages and disadvantages of friction, and different methods to increase or reduce the friction. Let's we discuss some exercise of this chapter. First question is, which of the following is the least? Static friction, sliding friction, rolling friction and composite friction. I have told you that static friction is more than sliding friction and rolling friction is always less than the sliding friction and static friction. So here C option is correct. Rolling friction is least. Next is, it is difficult to walk on ice because friction is high, friction is low, pressure is low and pressure is high. So friction, due to low friction, it is difficult to walk on ice. So B option is correct. Friction is low. Next is, how can we reduce friction? First method, by applying oil or grease, by polishing the surfaces, by using wheels, all of these. So you have learned the methods to reduce friction. By applying oil or grease, we can also reduce friction. By polishing surfaces, it also reduces friction. And by using wheels, it also reduces friction. So all options are correct. So you will write D option is correct, all of these. Next is, which is correct? A option is sliding friction is greater than static friction and it is greater than rolling friction. B option is rolling friction is less than static friction and it is less than sliding friction. C option is static friction is greater than sliding friction and it is greater than rolling friction. And D is none of these. So you know that static friction is more than sliding friction and rolling friction, and rolling friction is less than sliding friction and static friction. So option C is correct. Static friction is greater than sliding friction, and it is also greater than rolling friction. So rolling friction is least and static friction is high. So static friction is greater than sliding friction and sliding friction is greater than rolling friction. Next, what is the symmetrical shape of an aeroplane called? Cylindrical, streamlined, oval and elliptical. So you know that an aeroplane has a streamlined shape due to which it is moved in air easily. So B option is correct, streamlined shape. So do this exercise in your copy and read the whole chapter thoroughly and make more and more very short questions which makes you this chapter easy. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.